Have you ever felt like you're holding back your tears, trying to stay strong because you're afraid if you break down, everything around you will fall apart? Like you're just barely holding it all together, but deep down, you're running on empty. It's an emotional place to be. And I personally have experienced this, and I know how hard it is to move forward. So today, I'm going to talk to you about how to move out of that space by building a foundation that gives you a stability and something solid to hold on to, so that you don't have to carry everything on your own. We'll explore how to create that sense of safety and grounding where you can finally breathe, knowing that you are in a foundation that supports you through the tough times and the tough moments. But before we dive into that, I want to welcome anyone that's new here. Hi, I am Rose Jones, and I'm your host here. And I am just one woman with one voice trying to help as many women heal as possible. And I created this space for women who are on their healing journey and is looking for a community to heal with. So if you're a woman who is looking for a community that gets you, that understand you, that have resources, then you are in the right place. I would love for you to be part of our sisterhood. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you never miss another episode of A Sisters Love Podcast. And oh yeah, don't forget to join our Facebook group, Sister Let's Heal Together, where we continue those conversations that we start here. We share our stories and get those healing resources that we truly, truly, truly need. And today we're going to start the episode talking about a situation that I had with my kid's father, where I was stuck in this survival instinct that I didn't really know that I was in. So let's dive into that and let's get started.
Welcome to A Sister's Love, the podcast that helps women who are healing by having those deep conversations, giving practical advice and words of encouragement. Come on, let's talk about it.
So, this is one night that I will never forget. It was supposed to be like this fun night for my daughter. She had her father's daughter dance, right, at school. And I was trying to focus on making this day so special for her. But for some reason, my phone just kept dinging. If you know, you know. These random ass niggas from a different country kept messaging me on Facebook trying to get with me. I had no idea why, but this was happening. And I tried to explain this to my kid's father, but of course, he didn't believe me. He never believed anything I said. So his mood switched up so fast. And before I knew it, he was calling me out my name. He was calling me hoes, bitches, like anything you can imagine. He was calling me. And then he said I was cheating on him and all this other stuff. But the irony of that is that he was cheating on me, right? So he was so pissed. He made us leave the dance early. My daughter was so confused. She didn't understand why we had to go. But we got in the car and everything went crazy. We started screaming at each other, accusing me of cheating and all this other stuff. So I snapped and I yelled back, like, calling him insecure and all that, like, back up, leave me alone. Like, what? But when we got home, I sent the kids upstairs and I figured maybe we could calm down and blow this over, right? But after I put the kids to bed, I started walking down the stairs, and then all of a sudden something grabbed my leg and it dragged me down the stairs. And a split second, my life flashed before my eyes. The pain hit, but the fear is what really got me. I started kicking. I was doing anything I could to get this man off of me. And somehow I managed to break free. I ran out the house barefoot, no coat. It was freezing cold. It was snowing. I just kept running, not even feeling the cold because my adrenaline was pumping. I ran until I couldn't anymore. And then all of a sudden, I just collapsed in the snow and started crying. I sat there in the snow feeling completely lost. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was angry. I was tired of living like this. I was tired of fighting, tired of always being on edge. But you know what? After all that, I went back. I had to. I couldn't leave my kids behind. I had to protect them. I didn't have anything else to do. I had no family to trust. I had no friends to turn to. So I went back. I stayed. And it wasn't just that one night. I felt like this my whole life. Even growing up, it was the same thing. My dad used to abuse my mom. Our house was like this quiet battlefield From the outside, it probably looked like we had it all together, but inside there was this constant tension. It was like walking on glass, always waiting for the next explosion, but not being able to say a word about it. That's what I mean when I say this quiet chaos. Everything looks fine in the world, but we're suffocating. It was like a house on fire, but no one was allowed to say anything about the smoke. You just sat there hoping that someone will rescue you, but no one did. So I learned to deal with that smoke. I learned to survive. For me, that's what survival mode is. It's doing whatever you have to do just to make it through the day, even if it means losing yourself in the process. I spent years just surviving, numb, tired, always ready for the next thing to fall apart. I didn't have time to stop and think about how all this was affecting me. I just had to keep moving, keep holding it all together, because if I didn't, everything else would crumble. Now let's really get into what survival mode is. Survival mode is not just stress. It's when your body and brain are in constantly fight, flight, or freeze mode. It's like your nervous system is stuck in overdrive, always ready for danger, even when there's no immediate threat. It's a state where you're so confused and so focused on getting through the day that you don't have any space left for growth, healing, or even basic self-care. Your mind is locked in survival. In survival mode, you might not even realize it, but your body is carrying so much tension that you're not resting properly. You're always hyper alert, constantly looking for the next thing to go wrong. And while it might help you get through this crisis, it's not sustainable. Over time, it wears you down emotionally, mentally, and physically, okay? So what is the impacts of staying in this state? The real issue is that when you're in survival mode, you don't have the capacity to heal. Healing requires a space to breathe, to think, to feel, to process what happened to you. But if you're always bracing for the next hit, you don't get that space. And without that, you don't truly move forward. Even though I was stuck in survival mode for a long time, I realized I had to get out. I had to stop living moment to moment, just reacting to whatever was happening around me. I needed to start planning for my future, for my kids' future. I knew if I didn't make changes, we'll be stuck in this cycle forever. Remember I said I went back, right? Well, even though I went back to the situation deep down, I knew I couldn't stay there. I knew I had to get out, not just for me, but for my kids. So I started to planning. I knew I didn't have anyone to rely on but myself. So I had to create a plan, a real plan to escape and start a new life. I started to save my money quietly, bit by bit. I didn't have much, but I saved every penny I could. I started looking for apartments somewhere safe where I could start over. I knew I had to be smart about this. I had to have a strategy. It wasn't just about leaving. It was about making sure that once we left, that we wouldn't end up back in the same situation ever again. When the time finally came, I waited until that man went to work. I knew I had about 8 hours before he came back. So I packed everything that we needed, just the essentials, my kids' clothes, their beds, and our important documents. I left behind my beds, the furniture, and mostly everything else. I slept on the floor for a while, but we were safe, and that's all that mattered. From there, I started to build my stability. It wasn't just about getting out of the immediate danger. It was about making sure that I wouldn't end up back in a similar situation down the road. Stability was the key. Without it, I knew I would still find and feel like I was surviving, even though I wasn't in physical danger anymore. I had to figure out which areas of my life I didn't feel safe or secure and work on them one by one. I had to get stable my financials and make sure I had a solid roof over my head. Take care of my emotional and mental well-being, because when those things aren't stable, you're still in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you're just reacting to life instead of living it, okay? You're just reacting to life and not living it. For me, creating stable meant making sure I had a stable place to live, right? Finding steady income and learning to manage my money so that I didn't have to worry about making rent, you know what I mean? Paying for rent, all that. Focus on my health, both physically and mental, because if I wasn't okay, how can I take care of my kids, right? And most importantly, rebuilding my emotional foundation so I could start to heal from everything I've been through. Stability isn't about having it all figured out at once. It's about building a foundation where you can feel secure enough to start healing, processing, about knowing that you have what you need to keep yourself and your family safe, that you're not constantly on edge or falling apart. So how do we create stability? First, we have to look at the areas of our life where we feel the most unstable. That could be financially, emotionally, physically, or mentally. Once you identify those areas, you can start to make a plan to address them one step at a time. That's what this worksheet that I created is going to help you do. It's designed to help you figure out where you need stability in your life so that you can start moving out of survival mode and into a place of healing and growth. So let's go into this worksheet. The worksheet that I created is called Building Stability to Escape Survival Mode. And the worksheet itself, we'll go over together, is going to give you a clear picture of what you need to focus on and start building on to create this foundation. The first thing you need to do is identify the areas of instability. Think about your life. Where in your life do you feel insecure or unstable? It could be financially, emotionally, physically, or mentally. Write down those areas where you need the most support. Now, second, I need you to define what stability looks like for you. Now, think about what stability will look like in these areas. For example, financial stability might seem or mean having a savings or emergency fund. Emotional stability might mean setting boundaries with people who drain you. Write down what stability looks like for you. Okay, now let's move on to number 3. Make a plan. What steps can you take to move towards stability? Make it maybe it's saving a little money each month, find a therapist to help you with your mental health, or creating a routine that brings structure into your day-to-day. Write them down. One small actionable step can make a big difference in each area. Now, number 4, maintain stability. Stability isn't just about getting there, it's about staying there. How can you maintain the stability in your life that you created? What habits or routines can you build in your life to make sure that you don't fall back into survival mode? Write them down. Okay? Now, this worksheet is all about helping you create the foundation that you need to move out of survival mode and into a place where you can truly start to heal. Because you deserve more than just surviving, you deserve to thrive. We covered a lot today, and I know all of this can feel like a lot to process, but I want you to remember that small steps add up, and you're already doing the hard part, taking the first step towards change. If you want to access the worksheet that we talked about today, you can find it in our Facebook group called Sister Let's Heal Together. You can find access to that Facebook group in the show notes below. Now, remember when I said earlier that even though I went back, I knew I couldn't stay there. That's where the process started for me, acknowledging that where I am right now isn't where I want to stay forever. You have to take control. You can plan. I did it. It wasn't easy, but I knew I had to get out. I didn't have anyone to rely on but myself. I had to make a plan. I had to save my money up. I had to find a place to go. And when time was right, I had to pack up and leave. I took what was important. And me and my kids didn't have much. I slept on the floor for a while, but we were safe. And that was the first step of me building a stable foundation. Stability is what allows you to feel secure enough to heal. Is knowing that you have a plan to fall back on to support you when you don't feel stable. We end up back in those situations where we're trying so hard to escape. It's a cycle, but we are the one that has to break it by making a plan and making those tough decisions. So this worksheet we went over today is going to help you identify those areas in your life where you don't feel stable. It's going to help you start making plans so that you can move from surviving to actually living in a way that feels secure and safe. Okay? Now, before we wrap up, I want to tell you about our next episode. Next week, we're going to continue the important conversation with an amazing guest. Her name is Aurora. She's a certified life and a holistic coach. Aurora is going to share her personal story of growing up in a challenging environment and how that kept her stuck in survival mode for over a decade. Yes, over a decade. She'll be talking about mistrust, fear, sacrifice, her mindset that kept her in this space and how she found her way out. She got out. We're going to dig deep into the signs of how you're stuck in survival mode and, more importantly, how to start breaking free from it. Aurora has a wealth of experience in healing methods like theta healing, And she's going to share some of her practical advice that can help us start using them and that we can get some results right away. If you have and you feel like you're constantly bracing for your next crisis and you don't know what to do, then this episode is a must. Now, because this conversation is going to help you break free from survival mode and reclaim your life. And I want to thank you for spending this time with me today. I know this journey out of survival mode is hard, but every step you take is a step towards healing. If you ever feel like you need more support, we created this workbook called Escaping Survival Mode. It is part of a collection that is called Healing the Survivor. This workbook covers everything from understanding the biological reaction we have experienced during trauma, like the adrenaline rush and the cortisol spikes, to exploring how those responses show up in our daily life. It's not just the theory. You'll find real life stories from people who've been through it, like Lisa struggling with assertiveness or Maya avoiding patterns. You'll see how survival mode impacts us emotionally and physically. And the best part is that this workbook helps you create safety and stability in your own life, whether it's your mental, emotional, or physical well-being. This workbook will help you take back your life and help you build a foundation that you need to move forward. It's even include grounding techniques to help you adjust as you start making changes and embrace the new opportunities for growth and self-discovery. And if you ever feel stuck in this cycle, whether you're constantly just trying to keep your head above water, this workbook will be a game changer for you. It'll help you shift from survival mode to a place where you can actually start to heal and live life that feels safe and fulfilling. You can grab a copy through the link in the show notes or our Facebook group, Sister Let's Heal Together. Well, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, Sister Let's Heal Together, where we continue the conversations and the support that each other needs on this journey. And I want to let you know that you deserve peace. You deserve healing. And also, I'm so grateful to be part of your journey. And just to let you know, that's it. And sign it out until next episode. Bye.